So, as the new school year starts up, I am in my final year of college, 16th grade. We finally made it, almost to the end. I just want to make a quick video about doing homework and why I don't do homework on Sundays. Whether you are middle school, high school, college, so many people I know save a lot of their homework for like Sundays or Sunday nights. And I've always thought that kind of weird. And it's something that I have actually intentionally said to myself and set for myself that I'm not doing any homework on Sundays. I want to talk about why, because there's actual real reasons behind that. And in answering this question, I think it's going to be in part like a just a practical personal reflection, but also some kind of theological significance of answering the question of what is the Sabbath that is Sunday. And I'll start with that. And it all goes back to the beginning of the Bible and creation in Genesis. God creates the world in 6 days and rests on the seventh day. And we hear that story. And I think I was brought up to think that God rested because he was tired from creating the world in 6 days. But that's not the case. Like, it was not because God needed to rest because he was tired from creating the world. That does not align with an all-powerful God. There's a different significance to the resting on the seventh day. And I read this book. It's called Swear to God by Dr. Scott Hahn. I read it over the summer. It's an excellent book about the sacraments of the Catholic Church in light of the covenant and God's covenant with us. And it was really good. He talked a lot about covenants. And there are this idea of covenants all over the Old Testament. God makes covenants with Adam and Noah and Abraham and Moses. And there are these significant things between God and man, these promises between God and man. And Dr. Hahn explained this in a super cool way in the book, and I'm just not going to get this right. But there's some connection between the number 7 and covenants or oaths. Like the Hebrew word for a covenant or an oath being like a part of a covenant, the Hebrew word for 7 is the root word in covenant or oath. And it would literally mean, I can't remember if the word was covenant or oath, literally means to seven oneself. So then God's resting on the seventh day is him forming the covenant. The seventh day of rest, this Sabbath day, is a sign of God's covenant with us, which is a cool thing, important, exciting thing, but like, cool, what does that mean? That means that resting on the seventh day, taking this Sabbath day to rest, to put aside our work, and to spend it in leisure and in love and community with other people and communion with God, is part of our covenant of the promise God has made to us and that we ought to fulfill and keep with God. And that covenants are serious things. Covenants, the idea of a relationship with God, covenants have come with blessings and they come with consequences if we don't keep them. Blessings if we do, consequences if we don't. But by fulfilling just a part of that covenant, by resting on the seventh day, as a sign of that covenant with God, we fulfill and renew that covenant and we receive those blessings. I think that's a cool, like, little theological significance of what Sundays mean, of why we maybe ought to rest and not do so much on Sundays, but in a more kind of just practical, personal, reflective way. First, is it really that hard to get all your homework or schoolwork done in the other 6 days? Like, I question how people still have so much to do and get so packed with homework on Sundays that they need to use their Sunday to do it. A lot of people take Saturdays as a kind of rest day. Maybe flip those around, because second thing is, like, do I schedule God around my week, or do I schedule my week around God? is God the center point of my week? And if God says Sunday is my Sabbath day, Sunday is your day of rest, take that, keep holy the Sabbath, one of the commandments for us. Do we take that and obey? Do we practice obedience to God? Or do we say, I'm going to make my Sabbath day Saturday, or I'm going to make my Sabbath day Wednesday, or I'm going to make it whatever day and make Sunday my work day? I just think it's a good practice of obedience and respect to God, and making the day that he has asked us to keep holy, the Sabbath day of Sunday, and obeying that and making that a center point of our week that we work around, instead of setting up our week and trying to put God somewhere in there. And lastly, just not doing work on Sundays, not doing homework or whatever else it may be, helps me to spend more Mary time and less Martha time. I am so guilty of being a workaholic and wanting to do stuff and be productive all the time. Made a video a while back kind of about that. But it helps us to recognize that we are not only made for labor, but we are made for leisure and for love, and to spend time simply being. Jesus called his disciples to be with him, not to work for him, not to produce something for him, but to be with him. And that is one of the central calls of our life to remember. And this Sabbath day, this day of rest, helps us to remember that covenant that God made with us, to be with him. And when it comes down to it, when we think about it a lot, how simple is this really? Is it really so important? Is your schoolwork more important than God? Is whatever other work that you may do in your life more important with God? Is that what you're saying by choosing Sunday to be your work day, whether it is or not? I think it's just a simple way that we can practice obedience and acknowledge God as the central part of our life. That's why I don't do homework on Sundays. Maybe in this new school year, that's something that you start to practice. Maybe you start doing your work more on Saturdays instead of Sundays. If you have a lot of stuff to do on the weekends, try to get it done before Sunday, or try to get more stuff done during the week to keep the Sabbath, to keep Sunday holy, to keep it for God, and to keep it as a day of rest, renewing and fulfilling the covenant that God made with us.